Okay, how are we doing, people? Back again with yet another film study. I figured, seeing as it was announced formally yesterday that Anthony Joshua and Dillian Whyte would have their rematch on the 12th of August, why not take a trip down memory lane and have a look, a little bit of a deep dive at the first fight. Specifically, I'm going to be focusing on the first round because it's a fairly dense minute or so of footage. I'm more so going to be focusing on the skills of Anthony Joshua that he displays in the first minute of the first round, because I feel like it's something that maybe flew under the radar a little bit. Anthony Joshua and Dillian Whyte were both very raw at this point in their careers. And in all honesty, after the first round, it all kind of goes out the window and it becomes a very entertaining battle of attrition and a bit of a slugfest. But there are some real subtle skills that Anthony Joshua displays, and I just want to highlight those here. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and let's get into it. So as you can see, the round has just started and both guys are coming to the center. And what we'll see is, if we press play, Anthony Joshua looking to set up the left hook. But how exactly does he do that? In my opinion, he uses some pretty advanced, or at least thoughtful technique. We can see that he just has that little slip, to the left side to his towards his lead leg, which is going to load the front side of his body and the left hand. And he comes back and he does it again, and simultaneously baits the jab from Dillian Whyte because he's bringing that target closer. So it's almost threefold, where it loads that side of his body to make the left hook a power punch. It baits Dillian Whyte, it baits a reaction from him because it's a threat to Dillian Whyte, and it takes him off the center line as well. So he's able to evade that jab from Dillian Whyte. He misses the left hook. Dillian Whyte, you got to work a bit harder to catch him out, but nevertheless, I think the opening seconds of the round, and it shows that Joshua is already thinking about how he's going to set up his shots. And then we can see straight away he just uses that lead hand, that little probing lead hand, because he misses this punch, comes back into range, and then just uses that to check the lead hand of Dillian Whyte, so Dillian Whyte can't then take advantage of Joshua in the fact that he's just missed that punch. We can see Whyte here looking to set up his own jab, and we can see Dillian Whyte looking to just double forward. So he brings himself forward and then back a little bit and then forward through the jab. Joshua got that parry at the ready though and counters with his own jab. Sometimes you're at long range and you have a guy who's jabbing you. If you want to contend with him rather, use that parry and jab back, especially when you have a certain amount of ring coverage. That's a Dwyer's saying, ring coverage, how much space can you take up? How much reach do you have? You have a fighter who you can reach as well as he can reach you. Contend with him, but you have to have the defense. You need to be direct. Okay, good stuff from Joshua there again, and Dillian Whyte, to be honest. So we see Dillian Whyte looking to come forward with that double jab. We see Joshua using that parry once again, looking to fire back his own return fire with the left hand. But obviously Dillian Whyte understands that when he's coming forward using that double jab, he has to come off the center line, which simultaneously loads his body. So the right hand now has power. Joshua, understanding these mechanics, gets that defense up in time because that's where he's open. He's open to an overhand right or right hand return, and Dillian Whyte launches it, but Joshua, good eyes. And this is a theme we're going to see throughout the course of this round, where Joshua pairs the high left guard with the right hand parry, and he also increases the distance between him and Whyte, another layer of defense. Okay, we can see Joshua kind of mixing that jab in to his movement. We can see him onto the left, and then he's just edging forward, shuffling his feet, and then comes into range. Dillian Whyte looking to posture a little bit. Joshua looks to time him with the jab. And then there's a distance between them now. Joshua has sufficiently threatened Whyte, so there's space between them. As they come back into range, we can see both guys getting closer. Joshua bringing himself closer to Whyte, getting that parry at the ready, because he can see, or he understands that he comes into range, he needs to be prepared, he needs to expect something from Whyte. And we see Whyte jab, Joshua parries, once again using that parry to set up the left hook, as we saw, or as we've seen a couple of times, and we will see in the rest of the round. Misses, but he's able to get that guard up in time. Not only does he block the left hook, it wasn't a great left hook from Dillian Whyte, his position was quite compromised, but Joshua gets up that guard in time, once again, pairing that with the high left guard, just in case. Dillian Whyte doesn't throw a right hand, but Joshua understands, just in case. That's what you call defensive responsibility, is being consistent, being disciplined, not taking chances, being responsible. And once again, get some distance between them. And we can see Joshua again pairing the rear hand parry with the left high guard, and Dillian Whyte does. And you start to see, the more it happens, the more situations are like this, that Joshua, that's his insurance. Being consistent with this, it saves him in a lot of senses when Dillian Whyte does look to launch that right hand. We can see Joshua moving, then he kind of threads this jab to the body in with his movement as he goes around. It's very slight, but what it is it's a body in motion is able to accelerate a bit more. You're able to weave that attack into your movement. And we see there's a bit more space between them. I'm not sure if that punch lands cleanly, but nevertheless it threatens Whyte. As Whyte comes back in, Joshua feints with the right hand. Once again, we can see how Joshua, using these attacks, using these threats to threaten Whyte's position and manage that distance between them especially. Once again, Whyte looks to time Joshua coming in. Joshua, rear hand parry, lead hand block, using distance as well. And you start to see that the defense of Joshua, it doesn't look flashy, but it does the job, because Dillian Whyte isn't able to land these punches. Joshua using several layers of defense, in the sense where he's using distance, he's using parries, he's using blocks, making it quite difficult for Whyte to land on him. See, back into range, Joshua using the left hand, and he's using this to manipulate Whyte's position. Now, Whyte is in a good position here because he looks to slip the jab of Joshua and load up his own right hand so that he can essentially slip and counter that jab. But we see Joshua uses that as his opportunity to time Whyte with a right hand. Good defensive responsibility once again. Joshua doesn't just return to the center line. He's kind of in that off the center line position with his hands up. Once again, 2 layers of defense. Kind of come apart a little bit. Joshua turns on the spot. Both guys out of position a little bit. Joshua is able to use that agility to react, get himself in position. We see the parry come out once again, just in case Dillian Whyte fires that jab to take advantage of that lack of positioning, even though they are both out of position. Joshua then uses that to follow up with a left hook. Right hand, nothing lands. Good defense from Whyte. He's using his own extended block in distance. Come back into range. Joshua once again using that left hook. Misses with the right hand, it seems. Gets back into position. Straight away takes away the vision of Dillian Whyte, because he's still in range. Even though this is not necessarily a damaging punch, you can see Dillian Whyte probably can't see all that much from here. But then he takes it back. He really, if that was to be a cleaner sequence for Joshua from an offensive point of view, he could go straight into a 1-2. But instead there's a bit of a delay, there's a bit of latency, and he loads up the right hand, maybe getting a little bit gung-ho. But we see here that Dillian Whyte is able to somewhat avoid that punch, looks to counter with a left hook. Bit scrappy here, but Joshua gets that guard up in time. We can see he's physical. He's holding on to the arm of Dillian Whyte, not allowing Whyte to bring that back. Then Joshua bores him forward, pulling himself closer to Whyte. Now look at the difference in position here. Joshua a bit lower. He's underneath Whyte despite being the taller man. He's lowered his centre of mass. So he's much stronger. He's in a much more stable position because his centre of mass is lower while still being over his base of support mostly. Dillian Whyte, a lot more upright. His centre of mass is going to be higher and therefore he's going to be a bit more unstable. Joshua pulls himself in, uses that as leverage to throw this left hook and cracks Whyte quite well. Misses the uppercut. Goes to follow straight up. I think what Joshua does there, uppercut, comes forward and rather than going right punch, or right hand, left hand, he goes right, repositions, right hand again. They body up again. We can start to see Joshua, just like in the beginning of the round, trying to use that slip to set up his left hook and does so quite well, actually. So we see Joshua here slip forward a little bit while stepping and then back, step forward and slip. Same sequence as the beginning of the round. Joshua has loaded the front side of his body. The left hand is a power shot now. He's come ever so slightly off the centre line while baiting the jab from Dillian Whyte and is able to follow up with that left hook. Technique could be better, but nevertheless, it catches Whyte. He looks to follow up, but Whyte quite cleverly uses that extended arm to control the head of Anthony Joshua, keeping him off balance, moving off, getting some distance. Joshua following up. Once again, even though there wasn't that much urgency behind Dillian Whyte's action, we see Joshua use the rear hand parry for the jab, bring that up just in case. Defensive responsibility. It has to be, if you want to make it work, it has to be consistent. We see Joshua slip into the front foot, using the left hook again. I don't want to say he's rushing, but he's not waiting for the response of Dillian Whyte as much as he was before. But nevertheless, it is a bit of a layer of ambiguity. We see once again, rear hand parry. He had the left hand block up anyway, but relies on the distance there. Edging forward. Good eyes, being able to spot that. Oh, what do we see there? Using that rear hand parry. And then we see using his own jab, Dillian Whyte looking to use the same strategy. Joshua kind of getting caught up a little bit here, but you see, distance as a means of defense works both ways. You can either be too far out that you can't land, or too close that you can't land effectively. And that's what happens here. We see Dillian Whyte trying that jab to the body, and then Joshua missing the counter. Jab from Joshua. Okay, good stuff once again. All right. A bit more. See the jab from Joshua. Dillian Whyte looks to parry and jab with his own. So this gives Joshua information, one of Whyte's potential reactions to this specific action of Joshua jabbing Whyte. Joshua banks this, and you probably saw the lead hand guard there, high guard. Joshua understands. He's like, okay, I know how Whyte's most likely to react when I throw this jab. And bingo, he's right. Whyte attempts the same thing, the parry in the left jab of his own. Joshua, understanding this, tries to counter with the right hand. Seems to catch Whyte on the shoulder, so some good wily defense from Whyte, but nevertheless, I think it does show how Joshua is banking that information that he gains from using the jab. So I think we've come to the end of this clip now. I'm not sure how long this clip's going to be in terms of this breakdown, but I hope it's been clear. I hope it's been insightful, because this is a fight where we usually think of it as just being a bit of a back and forth brawl, because both guys quite raw, quite early in their careers. But there was some good skill, some good technique on display from Anthony Joshua, and both guys have come on leaps and bounds since then. So I expect the rematch next month to be even more skillful and technical. But for now, I hope you guys have enjoyed that. As always, if you have any requests for videos and fighter breakdowns, or maybe even you just want to see the rest of this round or another round of this fight, leave it down below. Any feedback, any comments, greatly appreciated. But for now, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you on the next video.